The forces of darkness crept ever closer. Great battles raged for control over the kingdom of man. It was a time for heroes to step forward.
When you pick up the phone and get the police,
or you get a letter from your favorite niece,
or census checks, population increase.
P.S. That's public service. When you get all the facts about aspirin,
or a new bus service is about to begin,
or Internal Revenue calls you in.
P.S. That's public service. We're here because you need what we do.
We're here to provide that service for you.
For you.
For you.
Oh, hello. I am noted film scholar and commentator Fenton W. Abernathy Jr. You may have read my many self-publications at fentonwabernathy.com, Jr. Thank you. I'm here today to celebrate one of the greatest filmmakers America ever produced, the man whose work we just saw. Of course, I'm referring to the genius of Warren G. Spaulding. As supervisor of the Federal Film Program from 1917 to 1988, Warren worked for every single government agency and department over the course of his amazing 70-year career. Warren was directly responsible for all government filmmaking, over 238,000 films. No one in history has produced such a vast body of work. Not Michael Caine, not even Sir Anthony Hopkins. For Warren was that rare visionary who could take government bureaucracy and turn it into government cinema. His motto was, where taxpayer dollars are concerned, art is no object. And he proved it time and again in such classics as Your Enemy, the Grasshopper, Carbon Monoxide, The Unseen Danger, Posture Clinic, and the enduring classic Night Vision Techniques and the Use of the Metascope and Starlight Scope. As you will see, these films captured not only our imaginations and pocketbooks, but also the very essence of governmental thinking. We hope you enjoy this tribute, films unseen by most citizens since their days in junior high and high school, and probably not even then. So sit back and enjoy the cinematic artistry of Warren G. Spaulding. You've already paid for it.
Welcome to You in Public Service, the program that not only tells you about potential public service jobs and what they are, but provides skills which may help you get one. Hello, my name is Charles, and I'd like you to meet Susan.
Hi. On this show and others in our series, we'll talk about some specific public service occupations you might want to consider.
Look at this, guys. It's an official letter. I bet you it's important.
Well, get it open, Juanita. Probably urgent.
Come on, open it.
Come on,
Try it. All right. Dear Miss Brown, pursuant to yours of last July, this letter is meant to inform you of its receipt. It has been filed for further consideration by Unit 1427C, Section 12, Floor 13. Thank you, Jack Smithfield, Assistant Clerk.
Well, what's that all about?
Beats me. Last July was a long time ago, and I don't even remember what I wrote to him about now.
I thought written communication was supposed to be a fundamental tool, something to help create understanding.
So did I. But this is nothing but confusion.
It's a waste of the taxpayers' money.
It's a shame for the writer and for the agency he represents. When you receive a letter from an agency, the meaning should be clear as ABC. Communication through the written word should be clear as something spoken, something heard. Clear as something spoken, something heard.
Organize your thoughts in an orderly way so others know what you want to say. Communication through the written word should be clear as something spoken, something heard. Clear as something spoken, something heard.
Express yourself concisely, accurately, precisely. Report all the relevant facts.
Don't be matter-of-factly or write abstractly. What you want is clarity.
Exactly.
Letters and reports, quite obviously, should be understood as easy as ABC. Communication through the written word should be clear as something spoken, something heard.
Clear as something spoken, something heard. The written word.
Paper makes the world go round.
What would we do without a birth certificate, a driver's license, a record or two?
What would we do? And without all the forms that we accumulate, no payroll deductions or internal revenue. What would we do?
Paper, paper, paper makes the world go round. Paper, 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 filed by the pound. Forward run, back run, what's on paper, what is found? Paper, paper, paper makes the world go round.
What would we do without forms to quadruplicate, or data processing, or a filed interview?
What would we do? And without warnings, don't bend, fold, or mutilate, or microfilm records to go through and through. What would we do?
Paper, paper, paper makes the world go round. Paper, 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 loose and paper bound. Forward round, back round, what's on paper, what a sound. Paper, paper, paper makes the world go round. Paper makes the world go round.
There may be some few in the audience who are asking yourselves, who is Warren G. Spaulding? Who indeed? Surprisingly, for a man who spent 7 decades in the public communications field, there was precious little to go on when we tried to make a documentary about his life. A single photograph, a desktop nameplate, one reel of poorly recorded audio tape, some paper clips, and the spent exhaust from a 1964 Mercury Monterey. It was the challenge of a lifetime. But the boys and girls at the Federal Film Office have done a bang-up job. So sit back and relax and enjoy this up-close and personal look at Warren G. Spaulding. Lights! Government man!
Warren G. Spaulding was born February 29, 1900 in Walnut, Iowa, a state which has houses very much like this one. His mother, Millicent Grange Spaulding, was the town librarian. She disapproved of everything Warren ever did. His father, the distant but demanding Rufus Tiberius Spaulding, was the founder and owner of the first superstore in Iowa. Warren would probably have ended up a farmer, like so many other Iowanians, or perhaps move to neighboring Nebraska and become a dangerous, unstable alcoholic, like so many Cornhuskers. But in 1905, at the age of 5, Warren's life was changed forever. His father took him to a traveling carnival in Des Moines, and there, amidst the poorly maintained Ferris wheels, three-headed midgets, and the toxic cotton candy, stood a modern marvel, a Nickelodeon. It only had one film that only lasted 2 minutes, but that movie had an enormous impact.
I can remember the film to this very day. It was called What the Doctor Saw. There was a man, he was the doctor, and there was a woman, and she took off her skirt, and he saw her petticoat. Then she took off her blouse, and he saw her corset. I eagerly wanted to see what happened next, but it was at that time that my father pushed me aside quite firmly and spent our return train fare watching the doctor and the woman 38 times. We had to walk back to Walnut, but I never forgot what I saw. I wanted to make movies.
One of Warren's early films was based on a game he learned from his Uncle Sheldon, Pull My Finger. It was a disaster. There were problems on the set. Warren's career was almost over before it began. He knew he had to leave Walnut. Fortunately, World War I intervened. Following an unusually extensive physical, Warren was drafted and sent to a place he'd always dreamed of, Washington, D.C. Instead of a gun, the Army gave Warren a camera. He was to make movies to help our doughboys defeat the Kaiser. He did, and they did. After winning the war, Warren got the call he'd been waiting for. Spencer Effingham, renowned Undersecretary of the Office of Public Information, recognized in the young man a talent for telling simple stories in complicated fashion. He hired Warren to head the newly created Government Propaganda Office. Warren would remain there for the next 65 years. Soon, Warren was in meetings with some of the best minds in the propaganda business, busy crafting stories to get the message out. America is good. America is great. And we thank her for our food. Amen. The rest is history.
Over 100 years from now, Earth's application to the Galactic Federation is denied. The reason? Many Earth people abuse drugs. But Earth is granted a period of probation in which to solve its drug problem.
Oh, brother. Come on, Susie. Take a little sip. I don't know. Hey, you gotta get wasted, man. What? Oh, brother. Don't they know you don't have to be high to have fun? I'm gonna tell them to quit bugging her.
Hold on a minute, Elliot. She looks like she can handle this herself.
Oh, come on. I went to all the trouble of getting it. Susie, you're like totally no fun. Don't bother me, you guys. The music is excellent. Everybody's having a great time. And so am I. I don't need drugs to have fun.
Hold it, guys! Why'd you stop? What did you say?
I said we don't need drugs to have fun.
Hey, dig it, y'all. She's right. Come on up here. Yeah, you. You just said something real smart. And I need you to help me sing this next song. Come on. Let's go.
I can hear the music 'cause the music's loud. Makes me wanna shake my head, scream and shout. Listen, I tell you what it's all about. You don't need drugs to have fun. Yeah, I'm in the mood for a real good time. I love the rock and roll and that's no crime. But if you tell me what to do, I'll stop you on a dime. You don't need drugs to have fun. I wanna have fun, and I will. But I don't need a joint or a pill. 'Cause it ain't that cool. Don't be a fool. You don't need drugs to have fun. Don't need to take drugs to have fun. Sing it, scream it, beat it on a drum. And it ain't that cool. Don't be a fool. You don't need drugs to have fun. Don't need to take drugs to have fun. Sing it, scream it, beat it on a drum. And it ain't that cool. Don't be a fool. You don't need drugs to have fun. Don't need to take drugs to have fun. Sing it, scream it, beat it on a drum. And it ain't that cool. Don't be a fool. You don't need drugs to have fun. Don't need to take drugs.
For those youngsters accustomed to the artificial excitement of digital effects and big screen production values, it should be noted that the films we are showing tonight come from the collection of one Troy Speeds, who found them in a dumpster behind the Commerce Department. Mr. Speeds, a noted cineast and unmarried retiree, recognized the value of his find and has spent nearly 2 weeks restoring these treasures to near VHS quality. We are grateful for his efforts.
looking at a traveler who just bought a ticket for a very special kind of a trip. The cost? A few dollars, and his mind, over which he will very shortly have little or no control. Transportation to the fantastic and frightening territory of inner space, courtesy of the most powerful mind-altering drug ever discovered. Destination unknown, courtesy of LSD 25.
Round, out of your mind. That's right. And as you might imagine, not all of the people who know about me approve of what I am or what I do. These people, for example, have seen my effects and think I'm a total disaster.
Speaking of total disaster, I regret that this film did not turn out better. But at the time, I had developed a dangerous ritual of mixing no-dose and Doan's little liver pills. Later, I moved into Pop Rocks and Jolt Cola. Those were lost years, man.
Well, that sort of thing is bad for my image, as the advertising people say. Sensational, surefire in the paperbacks, but so much of it lacks the saving virtue of truth. There hasn't been a case reported yet where I poisoned anyone with just a...
I was the first to use the melting stop sign, far ahead of both Hollywood and the National Film Board of Canada.
Where are you?
Oh, stop that, man.
Where
stop
are
that.
you, man?
Stop
You're
that
not
freaking
there,
business.
man.
Let me give you an idea, just the barest idea of what a bum trip can be like. Voices courtesy of those who've been there.
Wait a minute. Look, he's going, man.
Dave, that's what this stuff's about. There's no more you, man. God, no! No! Get me out of this terrible place! Get me out of here! Help me!
Freaky man. After solving the nation's drug crisis, Warren turned his attention to boating safety.
Hi. Most folks know me as Judge Clampett on television.
At first, I was very excited about working with the biggest stars in Hollywood for my series of public service announcements. But it didn't work out as I hoped. Buddy Epson was always eating something, which made it quite time-consuming to get his parts filmed. Some professional. 9 out of 10 times that we rolled film, he had a pizza slice, chicken leg, or some such thing in his mouth.
Jane Mansfield.
Jane Mansfield was very lovely, a real trooper, but ultimately the high cost of production, especially when it came to graphics and titles and her sets, doomed to the public service announcements.
Perhaps, the critics say, Warren's best work was done during the silent era for the Department of Agriculture. Here he focused on a particularly dangerous problem facing America in the 1920s. More dangerous than the communists, more dangerous than the anarchists, more dangerous than bathtub gin. The problem of the scrub bull. One animal was harmed in the making of that motion picture. But with the scrub bull menace well in hand, Warren undertook a more important undertaking. the Social Security of the American public. The Social Security Administration was new and confusing to many people, so Warren found a new and only slightly confusing way to tell its story. Though it was the height of the Depression, he decided not to hire actors, but to fulfill a lifelong dream to work with puppets. Plus, it kept the costs down.
More coffee, Charles? More toast, marmalade? Will you please put down that newspaper and talk to me?
Talk to you, Allison? What about?
Skip, that son of ours.
Must we? It's so early in the morning.
Oh, Charles, I'm quite concerned. What are we going to do about him?
Frankly, dear, I don't know. Murder is illegal in this state.
Oh, I'm serious, Charles. When I opened that door yesterday, that man stood there with a box full of snakes.
Allison, we've simply got to face the fact that Skip isn't, he isn't like other boys of his age.
He's studying snakes at school, he said.
So he had to write to the zoo director and ask if they had any old second-hand snakes lying around that nobody wanted. And the director saw a chance for some publicity for himself and sent a box of the darn things. I suppose it's in the paper this morning?
No, but it will be. Skip's done so many crazy things and got our names in the paper so often.
No, Allison. Our son is just, curious, that's all. He's direct. He's aggressive. He likes to go straight to the root of things. If you ask me, he's destined to go places.
Yes, that's what I'm afraid of. And what happens to me in the meantime?
To study about snakes, you just don't read a book. No, sir. You study snakes. That's the way Skip operates.
Yes. But I shudder to think what may happen when Skip gets interested in elephants.
What's that?
I don't know. It sounds like... Where's Skip now?
In the basement. He dashed down right after breakfast to work on some kind of experiment.
Oh, I declare I'm at my wit's end.
No.
It's Saturday morning. Any other boy would be outside looking for legitimate ways to get into trouble, but not us.
Skip! Come here, Skip, will you? Right away. Maybe this is the time for that serious chat you were talking about.
You'll have to, Charles. Last week he cooked up something with his chemical set that blew out half the cellar windows. Goodness knows what he's doing this morning.
What's on your mind, Dad? You'll have to step on it. I'm in the middle of an experiment.
So am I.
Mr. Turner, Turner Advertising?
Yes?
Tibbetts.
On the first day of shooting, Paul, a moody drifter and indigent puppeteer, showed up belligerent, shirtless, and drunk. It was all downhill from there. To provide the music, Paul brought in his pal Mousy, a disgraced church organist and failed bootlegger, and the bad booze started to flow. In the end, I was left with a 13-and-a-half-hour work print of virtually unusable footage.
Anywhere else?
No? For much of the on-screen action, Paul was so intoxicated that he forgot to put on his puppets.
What's your nickname?
The screen was filled with images of naked hands screaming obscenities at each other. It's a miracle I was able to salvage even 10 minutes worth of this cinematic psychosis. Naturally, I fired Paul and Mousy as soon as I saw the rushes.
Yes, dear, what is it? Then, when I needed a Social Security number, that boneheaded bookkeeper I had working for me at the time, she probably made the mistake. Unless I did it myself.
The final scene was very controversial. The Hayes Commission insisted that I put the puppets in separate beds. But I held my ground against the censors and put the man and wife puppet in bed together as nature meant it to be.
So ends an episode in the life of the Turners, Charles and Allison, and their son Skip.
Gee, Mr. Abernathy, there weren't any facts about Social Security in that movie at all, were there?
Right you are, my disturbing puppet friend. But Warren really felt that the best way to convey information to the public is with funny animals. Let's watch.
The monkey. My goodness, the monkey. If you take every it tenfold, you might come close to the truth. He threw fits, cried, cursed, spit, stole money from the crew, drank a fifth of bourbon a day, dated Tuesday Weld, and then cheated on her with Ursula Andress and Raquel Welch. And he wrecked a Corvette every Friday night. But he sure was cute when we put a little jacket on him.
While animals are notoriously difficult to work with, Warren felt that there was a creature that presented an even greater challenge.
Joe Haley, there's one thing I'll say for you. You've done a good job. You know how to handle men, and you know how to keep the line moving.
Thanks, Mr. Brooks.
You work hard, Joe. You're a good foreman. Yes, women workers do present problems, Joe. It's tough, I know, but there are thousands of others, just like you all over the country, facing the same problems. Pretty generally, you'll all find about the same answers.
Well, I know most of the answers as far as the men are concerned.
Well, I think we can say that the broad principles involved in the supervision of men apply equally well in the case of women.
That ain't what I learned about women.
There are some new and different problems, Joe. I'll admit that.
Women scare me.
I know, Joe. It takes time to make them feel at home, but it can be done.
You talk like a man who knows women.
When breaking in any new worker, and of course especially a woman, you've got to explain every angle of the process down to the last detail. And since most of them lack mechanical background, you've got to study every job and subdivide it into simple operating steps. It's a good idea not to use trade terms, except, of course, where we must, and then explain in plain language exactly what such terms mean.
And I was just thinking what a bub I'd be doing something that's old stuff to my wife, but new to me. Well, like baking a pie.
How did it go today, Joe?
Oh, all right.
You troubled about something?
No, everything went all right, Molly, but you know, I had 7 requests for time off today. Well, I guess women don't realize what it means to stick on the job.
Watch the little things, Joe. The eternal feminine is very conscious of them. And finally, I don't have to tell you not to mix pleasure with business. To all the rules in supervising women, add just one more. Act quickly. Never let a situation get underway. Remember, Joe, we couldn't have won this without the help of the women in this plant.
Though by the mid-1970s, Warren was in his mid-70s, he was still in touch with the kids. He had his finger on the pulse of the youth market, and for a movie about the Internal Revenue Service, with the important message that kids need to pay taxes too, Warren knew he had to speak the lingo. The result was Tax Rock, and it was solid gold. Enjoy!
Filing returns seems very complicated, but earning pay is soon initiated. Whoa, 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 whoa. Paying taxes is never much like fun, but it pays off for all in the long run. Whoa, 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 whoa. Copy fee and W2 are things you gotta know. Schedule E, deduction 3, and figures in a row.
These employees of today's Internal Revenue Service can hardly be called tax collectors. Although their function is still to get taxes collected, it's a far cry from what it used to be. Having a favorable audit is like having a good review of your music. Not that it's such a big thing in itself, but you feel good having it work out right.
Congress passes taxes is what it's all about. It's up to us to pay. There's no doubt. Whoa, whoa, whoa. 1048, FICA, ad infinitum. And won't you please recheck every item?
Curiously, after making Tax Rock, Warren was audited for the next 7 years. But he never lost his complete faith in the law of the land. Some of his most energetic work was training films for law enforcement jurisdictions. Starsky and Hutch had nothing on Warren when it came to protecting the American people from their own deviant impulses. If you've ever felt the emasculating grip of the long arm of the law, you have Warren G. Spaulding to thank. I know I do.
Set. Kick it. Go. Go.
Hey, that neighbor might be right. It sounds like a coke party.
Yeah, you can practically hear the snowfall.
Hey, listen. I got a way that we can get inside so we can find out exactly what's going on. People have been going up to the door all day long and just knocking, and then they just go right in. So why don't we just come on up to the door?
You mean that we just...
Yeah.
Well, what about knocking notice?
Don't knock it if you haven't tried it.
Well, that's really funny, Winchell, but don't we have to?
They say come on in and it'll be consent.
You mean we're just going to knock on the door, state police officers conducting a narcotics investigation, they're just going to say come in?
No. We're going to knock. Just knock.
Okay, go ahead.
Come on in, the door's open. Hi, come on in. Go to the party.
The police officer's you're under arrest. Everybody put your hands on your head. You get over here. Let's go.
Don't move. Get over there.
Hey,
Come on, get out where you were. Come on,
down here, right down here.
Another creative entry by Officer Jim Richardson.
Want to argue with the Supreme Court?
When it came to America's military, Warren was on the front lines with the men behind the desks. His inspirational series, Why We File, kept the chain of command greased and ready for delegating. I'm not getting that.
And I can't impress this upon you too much. You owe it to yourself.
In the early early 70s, the military wasn't hip anymore. Nobody wanted to go overseas and get killed like we did in World War I. Punk kids.
Which way going, Sarge? Me? Re-enlist, of course. I've got a lot of time invested in the service, and they've got a lot invested in me.
I was certain I could make Army life relevant to the young generation. For this film, I pulled out all the stops. Unfortunately, I pulled them out a bit too far. Of course, the crew was probably all on drugs. They never served in the military. The continuity kid, well, he should have watched my LSD movie, that's all I can say.
I didn't mean to. Please.
I knew the love story would hook them.
I'm terribly sorry.
I came up with the idea of Cupid because, well, it made sense at the time. I put some wings on my nephew, but he was a terrible actor, and I'm still not speaking to him. At one point, I had a massive creative block, but I moved a few things around in the budget and got us a couple of days shooting in Ocean City, Maryland. I figured, hey, bikinis, what's not to like?
Charlie, these last few weeks certainly have been wonderful. But you must have something in mind. What do you want to do with yourself?
Perhaps I spent more time with the backstory than with the actual point of this film, which frankly escapes me right now. Something about re-enlisting, I guess. I suppose that's why the Go-Go Girls are in there. Truth be told, the script could have been boiled down to a single-page memo, but the Army was throwing money at me, and baby, I was catching it. I was attempting a, shall we say, youthful feel and look to the movie. I was dazzling them with tricky camera work and crazy angles. And of course, ladies. Always the ladies. I had access to the most beautiful actresses in the Fort Belvoir, Virginia area.
You know, you gotta give me
I thought it would be interesting to have the same actors reappear throughout the movie in a variety of roles. Plus, it kept the budget down so we could go to the beach and see the girls in their bathing suits. But in the harem scene, I think we went an accent too far. I asked for Arabic and I got South Jersey.
Hey, you a real fighter, kid. Why don't you stay here with me, Erica?
I can't. I have to go back to Plainfield, New Jersey.
I want you to stay here. I build you a big castle on top of the mountain with the golden minarets caressing the fleecy clouds.
But by that time in the production, I was willing to film anything just to get the damn thing over with.
By you beauty.
Well, how were you able to do that?
It's easy. Under the Manpower Development and Training Act.
I never saw the final numbers, but I believe this film is why we lost Vietnam.
In closing, let me remind you, these benefits are extended to you by a grateful nation.
What have we learned? We've learned the grasshopper is your enemy. We've learned techniques for the metascope and starlight scope. We've learned that paper, paper, paper makes the world go round. While Warren may be gone, at least we assume he is, be assured that your government continues to spend your money on fancy audio-visual productions, sparing no expense to keep you sort of informed about things that may or may not be of interest to you. I'm Fenton W. Abernathy Jr. Good night, Warren G. Spaulding.
When you pick up the phone and get the police,
Or you get a letter from your favorite niece,
or census checks, population increase.
P.S. That's public service. When you get all the facts about aspirin,
Or a new bus service is about to begin.
or Internal Revenue
when you get a license to sell wine and beer.
Or warnings are heard about smog in the air.
Or you get free help with a new career.
P.S. That's public service.
Women scare me. When you climb in a jet, take a safe flight.
Or the book you wrote needs a copyright.
Or farmers get help in fighting the blight. P.S. That's public service.
I wish that Newton Baker and Dr. Cadman were here.
We're here to provide that service for you.
Just for you.
Just for you. P.S. We may even have a job for you too.
P.S. That's public service.
P.S. That's public service.
P.S. That's public service. P.S. That's public service. We do it for you.
It's a waste of the taxpayers' money.
They're either going to love this or we're going to be chased out of the theater by an angry mob. I like that. That's good. That's good.